All right, welcome everyone. Today, we're jumping into a really pivotal moment in history. How a massive internal transformation in 19th century India was actually the essential first step for its national awakening. To get how that happened, we've got to start with the problem they were facing. So let's kick things off with this really powerful statement from 1828 by the reformer Raja Rammohan Roy. What he's saying here is that the whole system of religion and caste, with its endless divisions, had completely stripped people of any sense of national pride or patriotism. For him, this wasn't just a religious critique, it was a political emergency. I mean, how could you possibly build a modern nation if the very soul of your society was designed to keep people apart? So, what was the spark? Well, the arrival of British colonial rule created this period of incredible intellectual and cultural turmoil. Now, it's really important to get this right. Colonial rule didn't create the desire for reform, but what it did was shine a harsh spotlight on the weaknesses in Indian society and made the need for change feel incredibly urgent. And this challenge, it prompted a really powerful response. It was driven by this new, emerging, educated middle class and intellectuals. And it didn't matter if they were traditionally or Western educated, they all shared this one common belief. For India to move forward, it first had to fix itself from the inside out. To really truly appreciate what these reformers were able to accomplish, we have to understand the enormous challenges they were up against, the world they were so desperately trying to fix. This wasn't just a minor issue, it was a deep, deep crisis. In many cases, religion had become dominated by priests who held this, unhealthy influence, using complicated rituals and idolatry to hold on to their power. And this all created four huge, interconnected burdens that were just weighing society down. See, these weren't just isolated problems. They were all tangled together, creating this incredibly rigid society. The caste system crushed any chance of social mobility. And, as the sources say, it sapped individual initiative. At the same time, social customs were brutally oppressing women and the so-called untouchables. This was a society that was crying out for a new path. Just take the horrific practice of sati, the burning of widows on their husband's funeral pyre. Reformers like Ram Mohan Roy made a truly radical argument. He didn't just say it was cruel, he declared it was murder according to every Shastra or every Hindu sacred text. He was brilliantly using the authority of scripture to tear down a practice that claimed its legitimacy from that very same tradition. And get this number, it just highlights the unbelievable degradation women could face. In a practice called colonialism, a single, elderly Brahmin might marry hundreds of girls, often for a fee. Many of them he would never even see again. But when he died, they were all considered his widows, forced into a life of misery or even to commit sati. It's just staggering. But out of this crisis, this incredibly powerful spirit of reform started to bubble up. And the crucial thing here is that it wasn't just happening in one place or in one religion. It was a truly nationwide phenomenon. These movements, even though they had their own unique flavors, were really all just different regional and religious expressions of the same idea. It's like this common consciousness for change was just in the air. They all shared a remarkably similar viewpoint and a common goal: to build a better, more just society for everyone. This table just gives you a little glimpse of the incredible scope of this awakening. I mean, you had the Brahmo Samaj in Bengal, the Satya-Sodak Samaj in Maharashtra, fighting for the rights of backward castes, and the Aligarh movement, pushing for modern education among Muslims. It was a genuine cross-section of Indian society, all demanding a better future. And this quote, wow, it just perfectly captures the core philosophy of these reform movements. They were deeply, deeply humanist. As the reformer Vidyasagar famously said, "I had no time to think about God, since there was much to be done on earth." Their focus wasn't on salvation in the next life. It was on fixing the very real problems of this one. So the big question is, how did they do it? How did these reformers manage to challenge centuries of deeply embedded tradition? Well, they armed themselves with two really powerful intellectual tools that completely changed the game. They were rationalism and religious universalism. You can think of these two powerful ideas as the intellectual engines that drove the entire movement. They offered a brand new way to challenge old beliefs and to shift the basis of authority away from blind faith and toward human-centered reason. This right here shows the fundamental shift in thinking. So instead of asking, is this tradition sacred? Reformers started to ask, okay, but is this tradition useful? Does it actually help society? The thinker Akshay Kumar Dutt, for instance, argued against child marriage not by quoting scripture, but by using medical opinion. He boldly declared, rationalism is our only preceptor, basically saying reason, not blind faith, had to be the ultimate guide. Now, the second tool was universalism, and this wasn't about trying to create some new super religion, not at all. It was about recognizing the shared core principles that exist in all faiths. Raja Rammohan Roy, for example, defended what he saw as universal truths in both Hinduism and Christianity, like the belief in one God, while at the same time attacking what he saw as the man-made corruptions in both. And this idea had immense social power. As the reformer Keshab Chandra Sen argued, if you believe in one God, then logically all people have to be brethren. And boom, just like that, the logic of universalism becomes a direct and really potent weapon against the divisions of caste and religious bigotry. It was an intellectual foundation for national unity. Okay, so this brings us to the final crucial connection. How did this intense period of looking inward, of social reform, ultimately lead to a political awakening? Why was this whole process so essential to the story of modern India? Well, the answer is both simple and incredibly profound. You simply couldn't build a modern, unified nation on a cracked foundation of social division, superstition, and deep, deep inequality. Those old structures, the very ones that Raja Rammohan Roy said had deprived people of patriotic feeling, they had to be challenged first. This step-by-step path shows the clear logical link. It's like a chain reaction. By using reason to question old dogmas, reformers began to improve the status of women and fight the injustices of caste. This hard work of clearing away the social divisions was the essential groundwork that allowed a unified national identity to finally take root and begin to grow. And that's our explainer, the story of these 19th century reformers who dared to look inward to build a new future, leaves us with a really powerful final thought about our own times. It makes you think, doesn't it? Thank you for watching.